And you too, back there, yeah.
Could you tell us where you stand on PIPA and
Yeah.
Protect IP Act, and if, like Senator Franken, you're convinced that additional legislation is required to address online piracy, how rigorously have you challenged the industry claims to the extended problem?
Okay, this is probably the hottest issue that we've ever had in terms of the number of emails and phone calls. And that's the bill that was going to come up to the Senate a week ago, which would have made it possible for courts to order the providers, internet providers, and the search engine folks, would have allowed courts to order them not to connect to foreign websites that have been found by courts to engage in piracy or selling counterfeit stuff. It's a real problem, by the way. Everyone agrees it's a problem. We had a problem with defense parts, counterfeit defense parts, being sold on the internet, by the way. We identified 3 million parts that got into our weapon systems. And this was just a small slice of our weapon systems that were counterfeit. They were supposed to be new. They were all cleaned up, taken out of old used computers, almost all in China, or used computers shipped to China, pulled apart, the electronics, washed, new numbers put on them, and sold as new. Fake parts. I'm talking about defense parts. I got into this as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, so the counterfeiting issue in defense was a big issue. We were able to clamp down on it, by the way, in the defense bill. But there's a problem. The question is, how do you protect people's intellectual property? If you own a copyright, if you have a book that you've written, you don't want to see that book's copied and you not get your whatever you're entitled to, whatever royalty you're entitled to. You're entitled to. It's your intellectual property. We protect people's patents, copyrights, and so on. Now, what they did in this bill was apparently went way too far. I can't give you all the details as to how they went too far, but everyone kind of acknowledged it went too far. Google, Wikipedia, and a few other folks really stirred up their own customers, big time. I don't know how many millions of phone calls came in a matter of a day. Not in my office, all of them. Seemed like a million in my office. But we were just swamped. We couldn't even function. The phones, we used to say ringing off the hook. I don't know what they ring these days, but we couldn't even function in terms of communications with the public. It was just so overwhelmed. It was a flood. I don't know that there's a simple answer as to how you do this, but in terms of it being a free speech issue, I'm not sure it's a free speech issue, because if you have a domestic website, the court right now has the power to close that website, and they do. If you have a domestic website that's selling counterfeit stuff, we just had one the other day. What was the name of it? You happen to remember? It was some, I forgot the name of it. Court order. They closed the website. They were focusing on counterfeit, pirated stuff. It was a domestic website. How do you reach some website that's run out of a basement in Beijing? How do you get to it? That's the challenge. And so what the search engine guys say is, okay, we don't want to be put in a position where we're deciding what it is that's counterfeited or pirated. And they shouldn't be put in that position. But can't we figure out a way to stop that from happening? Can't we figure out some way that a court, after proper notice to anybody who's affected, to the website owners, get them notice that, hey, there's a lawsuit's been filed, you're entitled to be heard as to whether it's pirated or not, but if you don't show up, we're going to be able to order you to close down that website or that part of that website that involves pirated information. So that bill that was introduced, I wasn't a co-sponsor of it for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a highly technical area that I'm not personally really good at. I'm over 30. Probably over 20 these days. My 9-year-old granddaughter tried to teach me some stuff the other night. Got so frustrated with me. After a half an hour, she gave up on me. Grandpa, you don't even know how to do that. At any rate, so we're going to have that bill's gone. We're going to start from fresh, but people are going to have to focus on how is it it's not a violation of free speech to close down a domestic website with a court order, but it is with a foreign website. There's a disconnect there, and guys like, who's the one who just came out with, just the other day, a couple days ago, one of the major search engines or one of the major computer operators said that they are able, it was Google, I think, they are able to determine what inquiries Dave makes on what subjects. And if you ask a whole lot about Newt Gingrich, they can sell to either Romney or Gingrich your email address.
Yeah.
Boy, if there's an invasion of privacy. Google says apparently they're going to do it. I was stunned. Talk about invasion of privacy? My God. For them to be able to... That's what they said they have the capability of doing, and that they're also, I guess, to start, they're going to put them together as a group. But they have the ability to do it individually, to sell lists of individual email addresses that make inquiries as to this person is interested in buying a new pair of shoes. He's inquired shoe manufacturers or shoe retailers, okay? They can sell to those shoe retailers, apparently, Buskirk's email address. So,
all 10 of them.
Yeah. You know, so
I was going to say, which one works?
Again, all I'm telling you is we got to be very careful here, because we are dealing with free speech, we're dealing with privacy, but we're also dealing with piracy as well as privacy. Now, I want to give you a chance to...
Time for one more question.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you, you say everybody knows it's a problem, but have you rigorously challenged how much of a problem it is,
No,
and whether or not it's worth prioritizing?
Yeah, I can't tell you that. My staff may have an answer to your question on that. I don't know. I haven't done that personally, nor have I seen an analysis of that, by the way, the extent of it, except I know it exists. I know from the defense industry it exists. Big time. I mean, we track this. I want to show you how, just give you another example. We have something called the Government Accountability Office. This is our kind of our investigator. They look into government waste for the Congress. We at Armed Services Committee asked the Government Accountability Office to try to go out on the internet and buy purposefully fraudulent, counterfeit defense parts. They made up numbers. The numbers don't exist. They got 3 people offering them to sell those parts. They don't exist. And they bought them. Not expensive ones, by the way. Don't worry about your taxpayers' dollars. They bought them. They shipped them.
Oh, man.
With phony numbers on them. Phony parts. Totally. So, on the defense part, I do know. And by the way, I know how we're stopping it. And we put it in the bill how we're stopping it. It's got nothing to do with, doesn't get into this issues that came up with these 2 bills. So it's a big issue. People are going to have, we're going to spend some much more time on it than was spent because it's complicated. But I will dig into your question in terms of the extent of the counterfeit and the piracy.